All the participants, please wait. Let's start the session in another 5 minutes. Oh, to present city to all of you. Today, we to automatic room like controller with technology. I want to thank each to present in this webinar. I mainly extend my sincere gratitude to Dr. Manoharan, Joseph institutions, Mr. B. Joseph E. Engineering, entire Without any further ado, let's start the session. Over to Srirami.
Thank you, Rohit, for presenting the introduction. A very good morning to the participants. I am E. Sriram and I'm going to give you a briefing about the various components that are being used in the automatic room light controller with bidirectional visitors and also the Zigbee technology. So, whenever you think of inventing something new, you always have an objective or a backstory to invent. Looking at the objectives of the webinar today, let me give you an everyday example. Whenever we go inside a room, you switch on the light and do a work for some time. After completing the work, we get out of the room, but most of us forget to switch off the appliances we have used when we were doing our work. So, in order to save electricity as well as making things easier for people, the automatic room light controller comes into function. At the end of the webinar, I'm sure that you guys will have an idea about how to make a controller based model to count number of persons visiting a particular room and accordingly light up the room. You will also have an idea how the Zigbee technology, which is an advanced version of the simple yet fascinating inventions, work. Let us see the components which are required for the basic setup. So, the picture which you see in the right side is the microcontroller which is attached with all the sensors and other things. The required components are an Arduino Uno 8051 microcontroller, IR sensors. You need a pair of IR sensors, a 16 into 2 LCD display, a relay module, a breadboard, and jumper cables. An Arduino Uno. It's an 8051 microcontroller. It works under an operating voltage of 5 volt with input voltage ranging from 6 volt to 20 volt. It has a flash memory of 32 KB. It is a microcontroller board based on the 80 mega 328p data sheet. It has 14 digital input and output pins, of which 6 can be used as PWM outputs, 6 analog inputs, a 16 MHz ceramic resonator, a USB connection, a power jack, an ICSP header, and a reset button. So, when we have seen what is an Arduino Uno, you might also have doubt about what is a microcontroller. The word microcontroller itself tells us that it's something small and also it controls something. It is something like the computer process like Intel Core i3, i5 and i7 which controls the computer. The same thing is done here. The microcontroller transmits and receives the signals and processes the required operation. An IR sensor. An infrared sensor is an electronic device that measures and detects infrared radiations in its surrounding environment. This sensor senses anything which enters or passes through the sensor and gives the signal to the emitter as well as to the microcontroller. It has two parts, a LED light emitting diode and a receiver. A 16 into 2 LCD display. It is a very basic module and is very commonly used in laboratories nowadays. It can display 16 characters per line and can display two such lines. It displays each character in 5 to 7 pixel matrix. The relay module. The picture which is seen in the left side of the slide is a 5-volt relay module and is used for the automatic room light controller. There are many other relay modules with higher voltage which is used for various appliances. It is a basic module. It is a separate hardware device by which you can control device by remote switching. You can control devices remotely over a network or the internet. It has two SBDT relays and one wide voltage range optically isolated input. Breadboard. Most of us may have an idea about breadboard as you're from the engineering side. So, you might have given all the connections to a breadboard and the current is passed directly into the breadboard. So, in the 1970s, the solderless breadboard, which we use nowadays, was found in 1970s, and the breadboard was commonly referred to the jumper cables or jumpers. When you use normal wires in your labs, you need to check every time whether the circuit is tight or not in order to have a good experiment. But when you use these jumper cables, you need not have that sort of problems. You can just connect it and you not check it one and only when you need to change the circuit connections or something like that. It has very tight connections and you can connect it appropriately without any dysfunction. Let us see a short video of the components required for the basic setup. The one which you see now is the Arduino Uno microcontroller. The round button which you see on the left side top of the device is the reset button. The big box inside the controller is the USB portal. It has 14 pins, input pins, which I said before, and the other things are the analog inputs. The IR sensors, which we saw in the previous slide, was the black one is the emitter and the plain one is the receiver. Whenever something passes, the light blinks. This is the 16 into 2 LCD display. It can display 16 characters per line and has two such lines to display. This is the relay module. This 5-volt DC relay module. You can see the ratings in the device itself. As I said, there are many other relay modules which has more voltage and is used for many high volt appliances. This relay module is used in order to have a switching system in our homes. The breadboard. As I said before that this is a solderless breadboard. You can give all the connections in it and the current is passed directly into the breadboard. These are the jumper cables, the final components in the basic circuit. You can see colorful wires and also there are pins at each end of the wire. That is, each end connects tightly into the device or the components which you use for the electrical lab. In the electrical lab, you use a wide range of devices. So these make sure that the connections are tight as well as they make sure that the circuit does not break so easily. So I hand over the session to Mr. S. P. Ram for letting us explain a brief about the connecting the components.
Thank you, Sriram. Hi, everyone. I'm Sriram S. Will be representing the connections and working of the above seen components. Let's see the connection first. Here, you can see this microcontroller. The microcontroller has two ways of pin. One is bidirectional pin that starts from 0 to 13, and another one is analog pin that starts from A0 to A5. Yeah, you can see that numbers, right? We have two sensors. The first sensor is connected to the fourth pin, which is named as enter sensor. The second sensor is connected to the fifth pin, that is named as the exit sensor. Here, the relay module is connected to the second pin of the bidirectional port, and the LCD display, which is connected from 8 to 13th pin of the bidirectional port. Here, now I'm going to explain the working. In this, the most important components are microcontroller and the sensor, because the sensor are going to predict whether there is any person is entering the room or not. Meanwhile, the microcontroller is going to command the relay modules to switch on or off the light corresponding to the sensor's reading. You have seen that the microcontroller was like a computer which is programmed to perform two logic operations, that is OR and XOR. Now, on coming to the sensors, the IR sensor has two LEDs. One is IR LED, which is a transmitter, and another one is a photodiode, which is a receiver. Whenever a person enters the room, that is, if anyone crosses the sensor, then the IR LED stops the transmission of the IR rays. Then the receiver will get zero input. That means the first sensor, which is a enter sensor, marks the value 1, and as well as when the person crosses the second sensor, that is the exit sensor, the person when crosses the second sensor, which is a exit sensor, it too marks the value 1 in the microcontroller. When the readings are in the order of first and second sensor, that is nothing but enter through exit, then the microcontroller will perform OR logic, that is 1.1 is 1. This gives the count of the increasing members or the number of persons in the room. But if it occurs in the reverse direction, that is from exit through enter, it will perform XOR logic, that is 1.1 is 0. This gives the decrease in the number of persons or number of members in the room. Now, according to the reading in the microcontroller, the relay module will be commanded like when the member count is increasing, the microcontroller command the relay module to switch on the light. That means the relay is on. But when the members count decreases, the microcontroller command the relay module to switch off the light. That means the relay is off. Now guys, look into this short video to get a clear clarification. Now you can see the LCD displayer is displaying that nobody in room, light is off. This is because the relay module is off. You can see this cardboard piece, right? When we move this cardboard piece, as a man walks across those sensors, see what happens next. Sriram, can you play it please? Yeah. See here, when the cardboard piece is moved, you can see that the LCD display is showing a person in the room as one, which means the relay is on. Now, when we do this process again and again, see what happens next. You can see that while repeating the process, the number of persons in the room is increasing. But when we do this in a reverse manner, you will see the number of persons will be decreasing. Here, the number of persons is decreasing. You can see that clearly in the LCD display. At last, the number of persons gets to zero and the relay will be off. Now, now the advanced technology of this model, which is a Zigbee development, will be explained by Sriram E.
Thank you, Sriram, for giving us a briefing about the connections as well as the thank you for giving us a briefing about the device as well as the working of the basic setup. Now, guys, so whenever we find something new, there's always something known as advancing and advancements. So you have already seen the components required for the basic setup and also have an idea about how the basic setup works. So there are many technological advancements which has come over the years in this automatic room lighting, but the Zigbee technology has been the most successful and a well-received version of the controller. So, what is Zigbee technology and how it works? The PCware that you see in the picture, backside of the text, is the main thing that is the microcontroller used in the Zigbee technology. So, the components for the Zigbee based setup are so along with the components required for the basic setup, the following are required. Temperature sensors for additional appliances. That is, when you connect a fan or air conditioner, you need to use a temperature sensor for having the temperature always maintained at the same tempo. The Zigbee transmitter and receiver. A GSM modem, which is optional, that we will see in the upcoming slides. So, the temperature sensor. The temperature sensor monitors the outside temperature and signals temperature changes required for us. This is used when you connect a fan or an air conditioner within the setup. The picture which you see in the right side of the slide is the latest version of the temperature sensor by a famous name known as the Xiaomi. It, there are many types of temperature sensors. This is the most advanced version. The Zigbee transmitter. Whenever you go something in automation, you need two things, a transmitter as well as a receiver. You find transmitter and receiver everywhere in your life. When you switch on the TV, your TV remote acts as the transmitter and the TV acts as the receiver. When you use something, air conditioners, everything includes this. So, the Zigbee transmitter is a circuit inside the remote control that transmits the command operated by the user via a wireless communication and sends it to the receiver. It is fascinating that it has a coverage distance from 10 meters to 100 meters. The transmitter transmits signals in order to the receiver. The Zigbee receiver, the picture which you see in the right side, is being used by leading automatic room light controller producing companies like Texas Instrumentation, and other big giants. It is the receiving side of the Zigbee device and receives the commands from the transmitter and sends it to the microcontroller present at the receiver end and processes the functioning. So, the GSM modem, which I said before, this is an older version of the GSM modem probably used before 10 years like that. Nowadays, you have a USB type or Bluetooth connection GSM. The main operation of the GSM modem is that you can control your appliances by an SMS. Many would have seen Lloyd AC ad where Amitabh Bachchan controls his home appliances from the airport. It is something related to it. So the GSM modem, it's optional. You can have it, or if you don't have it, it doesn't matter. You can go into your home and control it. So, other sensors and components used in Zigbee, the LDR sensor, light depending radiation sensor, which you see in the top right of the slide, the blue color. So, what does an LDR sensor do in Zigbee? The LDR sensor controls the lighting system according to the lighting which is present in the outside, that is in our environment. That is, you not have more light in the daytime, so the lighting controls are done and dim light is produced in the daytime, whereas in the night you need a lot of lights to light up all the rooms, so it lights up and gives a brighter color to the room. The PAR sensor, as you've seen in the basic setup, the IR sensor counts even a cardboard moving as a person. The main purpose of PAR sensor is nothing but it detects whether the entering object is an object or a person. When the entered object is a non-living or object, it doesn't count it as a person. But when a person enters inside the room, it counts it as one. That is, it does not sense and give command to anything which enters other than the human. The relay driver, which acts as the relay module. So, the relay driver, as you have seen the basic setup, the relay module was used for controlling remote switching and other things. Here, the relay driver acts as the relay module. The Zigbee technology. Zigbee wireless technology is an advanced version of the above discussed device, that is, the basic setup can be implemented wherever the appliance control systems and the detecting circuits are placed at certain distance in meters. The circuit diagram which you see in the left side of the slide, the bottom is the transmitter side and the above one is the receiver. And the Zigbee transmitter transmits signals to receiver. The receiver receives the signals and sends it to the microcontroller. The microcontroller sends these signals to the relay modules. This is the relay driver in this Zigbee technology. The relay driver commands the main power supply as well as the regulated power supply to switch on the fan and the bulb. So here the use of fan is used, so the temperature sensor is also used, which you can see at the bottom of circuit diagram. Zigbee transmitter is kept at the input side where the detection of humans and other sensing circuitry is placed, and the receiver is placed at the control side to switch various appliances. That is, the basic example is your TV. The remote is handled by us and the TV is kept opposite to wherever we sit in order to give the signals to receiver. So, what happens at the transmitter side? A regulated DC power drives the entire transmitting circuit wherein different sensors like IR, PAR, LDR and temperature sensors, that is whatever we have seen in the previous slides, are attached to the microcontroller with the Zigbee transmitter module. You see in the previous slide that the Zigbee transmitter has the temperature sensor, the PAR sensor and the LDR sensor. So, when any object enters the IR sensor, it detects and sends the signals to the microcontroller. Then the microcontroller confirms that whether the entered person is human or not with the help of PIR sensors. That is what I said before. That PIR sensor senses only person, that is, it confirms whether the entered is person is human or not. Similarly, an LDR continuously monitors the room lighting during the daytime. Enough lighting in the room doesn't necessitate the lamp to turn on, and therefore, an LDR does this job by giving pulses to the microcontroller. Likewise, the temperature is sensed by the temperature sensors to turn the fans on. All these sensors data is collected by the microcontroller and is processed for meeting certain conditions. The microcontroller sends the control signals to Zigbee transmitter that transfers the data to the receiver side for turning the lights as well as the fans on. So, whatever we have seen till now is only the transmitting side of the device. At the receiver end, another microcontroller is present. The microcontroller acts as the processing unit to control all the equipments or appliances in the room. The processing unit is nothing but what I said before, the processors in your laptops. After receiving the control signals, After receiving the control signals from the transmitter section, the Zigbee receiver sends these signals to the microcontroller. The controller processes this data and sends command signals to a relay driver that drives different relays attached to appliances like bulbs and fans. In this way, automatic operation of room lights and appliances is controlled wirelessly by a Zigbee modem. So, some additional features Zigbee. What I said previously about the GSM modem. You can have an SMS to perform the remote operations as well. GSM modem. What do we see in the slide? You can have an SMS picture to perform the remote operations as well. GSM modem. What do we see in the slide? What do we see in the slide picture? There's nothing but multi appliances connected in the same room. There's nothing but multi appliances connected in the same. So let us see a working video of Zigbee technology. They are from Texas Instrumentations, which I said before, and they are going to show us what the Zigbee technology does. There are totally 122 different nodes in this lighting. That is, there are 122 connections and many bulbs as well. These are being controlled as a single appliance by a remote or an iPad. The thing which is used here, these two are the receivers and this is the power supplier. There's also another model of the same, but it has 200 nodes and as well as many others. So let us see into it. Now he's controlling the whole device with the help of an iPad. Or we can also have our smartphones to be controlled same appliances. You can change colors as well as create patterns. It is fun doing this as well as a lot of electricity is being saved by using the Zigbee home automation lighting. See, is controlling the whole lights with the help of an iPad. The other hexagons which you see in the black color are the power supplier and the basic circuit which is required for the transmitting. You can change colors as well as create patterns as I said before. As I said now, he has changed the patterns as well. So whatever he was doing till now is just by using the iPad. Now he is going to show us how it is being used via a remote control. He switches off it and also creates the same pattern again. So you can also control the level of brightness required as well as the other things. So what are the advantages of the technology? So whenever you see the advantages, there are some advantages in every advancements that we have gone through till now. The invention of smartphones have led us to a life where we can even pass a lot of time during lockdown. Advantages of the technology. The lighting controls are achieved easily with faster access facility. Various domestic appliances can be controlled and operated using Zigbee according to control parameters and requirements. Zigbee helps achieve a system that can be integrated as a single portable unit, allowing all of them to control all appliances at your home. That is not only your fans or TVs or ACs. You can control each and every appliance, the fridge, the oven, the other things too, which is electronic. Specifies the security services. That is, not everyone who enters your home cannot control the Zigbee. You can have security systems, or you can have access to 3 to 4 people who live in your home daily. With Zigbee, turning lights on, setting the home security system, or starting the VCR can be achieved from anywhere in the home at the touch of a button. So, now I hand over the session to Mr. S. Sriram for the query session. We would love to hear queries from the participants and also clear the doubts.
If anyone have any queries, you can ask me now.
Please put your queries in the chat box.
Do anyone have any queries?
Participants having queries can post your queries in the chat box, comment section.
I think no one has any queries. Let's wind up this session.
Does anyone have any queries? So, I call upon Rohit for the vote of thanks and as well as ending the 3-day webinar session which was being successful.
Your smile is your logo. Your personality is your business card. How you leave others feeling after an experience with you becomes your trademark. And we hope we have set our trademarks right on your heart. I, on behalf of the presenters, take immense pleasure in thanking all the participants for their active participation and for their love and support on all the 3 days. We had conducted a webinar on the 15th on the topic latest trends in CAD/CAM on manufacturing, and on 16th on technical advancements in automation. And on today, we had automatic room light controller with bidirectional visitors and its technological advancements. No duty is more urgent than that of returning thanks. I would like to be grateful to the people who gave us this chance of presenting this presentation, as they are the charming gardeners who made our souls blossom. I extend my sincere gratitude to Dr. B. Babu Manoharan, Chairman of St. Joseph's Group of Institutions, Mrs. S. Jesipriya, Managing Director of St. Joseph's Group of Institutions, Mr. B. Sasishekar, Director of St. Joseph's Group of Institutions, Dr. Vadi Sheshagri Rao, Principal of St. Joseph's College of Engineering, Dr. B. Parvavarthini, Dean at St. Joseph's College of Engineering, and our entire coordinators for giving us this chance to organize and present this webinar. And without a doubt, I have to thank my co-presenters and my friends for making this webinar a very, very successful one. Stay home, stay safe, and let's hope that everything will set in place. Thank you. Have a nice day.